If you like these videos, please check out my full course at www.lsat.totaltestprep.net with tons of clearly explained actual LSAT questions written by someone who's mastered test and helped others master it, and an evaluation period where you only pay if you want to continue.
Alright, in this video we're going to cover the must be true question. So what is the must be true question? So once again, what do these questions ask for? So what does it mean to identify a choice that must be true? How do these questions appear in the test? And how do we approach these questions? Okay, in terms of the basic information, must be true questions ask you for the answer choice, which has to be true as a logical or reasonable consequence of the information in the paragraph. So once again, it's important in a legal context to be able to identify the logical consequences of the evidence or the arguments presented. These questions will actually rarely deal with arguments. So think of must be true questions as similar to necessary assumption questions, but without the argument. It's just going to be a collection of information about something. A question will generally deal with one speaker, though there might be multiple, and if there are multiple speakers, then the question will tell you where to focus. So the correct choice will have to be true, others may be true or false, and if it's just because a choice could be true, but that doesn't mean that it has to be true. You want to keep that in mind. Excuse me. Okay, so now in terms of the basic approach, you need to be clear on the information presented, but most of the work is actually going to be done in the choices. So you want to identify the key elements and their relationships in the paragraph. Since it's generally not an argument, it's going to be a bit more difficult than the necessary assumption questions, because if you have an argument, it's just easier to identify the architecture because you focus on the conclusion and the premises. If you don't have that, it's a little bit more difficult to abstract the way, the general structure, but you just want to try and identify what the key elements are and have an understanding of what the paragraph is talking about. You then go through the choices and you look for the one that has to be true. So the correct choice will have to be true, which once again, if you negate that choice, or if you negate a choice and that contradicts information in the paragraph, then that's the right answer. This is also the negation check test, like in excuse me like in the necessary assumption questions. Because the correct answer has to be true, you cannot come up with a situation in which it's not true. Once again, as with the necessary assumptions, you don't necessarily always need to negate the choice, but it does help to explicitly do it. If you're down to a couple of answers, you're not sure which one, you can do that, and that usually clarifies it. So that's the correct choices. The incorrect choices will not have to be true. So if you negate the choice but there's no contradiction with the paragraph, then that's not the correct answer. So sometimes a choice seems like a reasonable or likely inference, but remember, you're looking for something that has to be true. If you can come up with a plausible scenario where it isn't true, then it's not the correct answer because it has to be true. Incorrect choices could also be contradictory. They might have to be false, or more likely, they'll be irrelevant.